Hello. Welcome to our Wafer Paper Friday. And as always, what is your drink of choice? I'm drinking water. It's a little bit cold. The water is cold because it's hot outside. And I have a few ideas about the things I wanted to try to do today. Wafer Paper Friday is our weekly entertainment in a way. If you wanted to work with wafer paper, if you wanted to learn about decorating wedding cakes, doing things with wafer paper for your different cake designs and everything, that's the place we are where we meet and try something new. My idea for today, I wanted to one of our members from the Wafer Paper Academy, she got a request for a wafer paper protea, like king protea. Most likely she was talking about the king protea and how to make it out of wafer paper. And it is a very popular flower for especially like more exotic or modern wedding. And I know it's very popular in certain cultures, like it's a very important flower in certain cultures. So I wanted to make an attempt on making wafer paper proteas using styrofoam. I'm still going to use a styrofoam bowl for my base, but I'm going to build based on that just because I wanted to my wafer paper protea to be as light as possible because they are huge. They are just like actual proteas. They are relatively large in size. So I wanted to build on something like that will give me enough space to play with that. Hello. Uh, Abingdon drinking coffee, the Netherlands drinking water. I'm in South Carolina, I'm drinking water today. And let's see what we can do. And if you have any questions about wafer paper, working with wafer paper, feel free to ask them. So I do not have a tutorial for wafer paper protea in my book. This is an ebook for all my flowers, all my templates, all my tutorials that you can purchase. I do not have a tutorial in here yet, but I'm going to add it after our conversation. If I'm going to come up with a template, I will add and update this ebook. If you want to purchase that, that would be lovely. And let's start with making our center. Let me see if I can get a little bit more light for my table so you can see it a little bit better. So my goal is to make my center out of wafer paper and then make my center out of styrofoam and add all the elements on top of that. So I have a styrofoam bowl here, and I think it's about, I would say, 2 inches in size. So this is my styrofoam. I think it's 2 inches. Let me measure. I think it's even more. I think it's 2.5 inches. Yeah, so it's 2.5 inches, or should be around 9 centimeters, maybe, if you're, so it's 6.5 centimeters or 2.5 inches. And I will start with placing this on a wire because this is just an experiment. I'm going to use cheap or like inexpensive wires for my stem because I'm experimenting. I don't want to do anything crazy yet because I don't know if that is going to work. So first step, I will set my center on a wire. I will need my owl for that. Let me see, where's my owl? I know I had it here. Okay, I don't have it here. Okay, so the first step is I need to make 2 holes perpendicular. So I'll start with poking a hole through my styrofoam. You can use hot glue gun if you wanted to do this with hot glue gun. Sometimes I find it's faster to use 2 pieces of wire. So sometimes I do this with wire. So you can see my little owl is poking on the other side. If your bowl is way smaller, you can do this with just wire. For larger bowls, I find it's important to have something like an owl to poke it through. And for wafer paper, I use closed cell styrofoam like this one. So it's way sturdier compared to like those fluffy, crumbly styrofoams. I will start with making a hook in my wire. I have, this is probably like 18 gauge or maybe 16 gauge wire. So this wire is very thick, and I will start with poking my wire through one of the holes, maybe this way, like that. And I will poke it in to the styrofoam like this to fix it. So I'm trying to fix my wire onto my styrofoam and make sure it's flat on the surface. So I have my wire stuck, even though it's relatively sturdy, but I do not trust putting my styrofoam on one piece of wire. So I'm going to place another wire perpendicular. So I have two wires. One is going straight down, and these are like little arms for our wire, and I have two pieces. This one is probably 26 gauge, doesn't matter. These are just cheap pieces of wire I'm using to make my flower, to test my idea. And I'm going to bring them down on two different sides of my styrofoam and twist them together. So I'm going to fix my wire to another wire like that. So my styrofoam center will stay on my wire very firmly like that. And I will take a piece of floral tape here and cover my wires to make sure that they are going to stay all together like that, and bring it down. So this is one of the ways to place your styrofoam or any center, even if you're using a piece of wire instead of using something like glue gun or any glue. Sometimes I find it just the faster way to do this. I'm afraid that I'm going to poke myself, so I'll just cut this wire shorter just for the demonstration purposes. So now I have my center for my protea. If you looked at any pictures of proteas, they have like a very specific shape. So proteas usually I made one out of sugar, I think for the Sugar Geek show, so I have a tutorial somewhere on the internet. But usually they are shaped very specifically. And I think I'll try. So my idea is to make the center, to make like specific shape for the flower, then make our stamens, and then build all the petals. So I'll start for the center. I'll start with the regular wafer paper, maybe just like a scrap of wafer paper, whatever I have on hand, because again, I'm just experimenting. And I wanted to make it like maybe similar idea to what we did for our hydrangeas. So for hydrangeas, that's how we started building our shape. So something like this to place it like on top of my styrofoam. See what I mean for that? My wafer paper is very dry, so just for the purposes of making it a little bit more flexible, I'm going to add a touch of water. This is just a mini steamer because I think my humidity is very low, so my wafer paper gets crumbly and dry. And I'm going to add just a touch of moisture to be able to shape my wafer paper. I think if you wanted to use water or something, or just like spray your wafer paper with a little bit of water, it's totally fine as well. And I will take my wafer paper glue because I wanted to glue my wafer paper to my styrofoam. So let me grab a brush. And hello from Australia. Hello, hello, hello. I'm excited for you to be here. Thank you so much. It's so much fun to do these things live and entertain you. So I have my wafer paper glue, and wafer paper is just wafer paper scraps melted in water. And I will start with placing a touch of wafer paper glue on one side of my wafer paper so I can shape it in a cone shape, overlapping maybe like this. Do you think it's going to be good enough? So I'm just closing that onto itself. And then I can place my styrofoam inside and see. It does look like it's going to work. Okay, so for that, let's see if I can cut my wafer paper to give it a little bit more dimension. So I need something like around here. And I will make it proper template out of actual paper if you wanted to give it a try a little bit later and use the same method. So I'll make a template and put it on my website and everywhere, so don't worry. I wanted to cut a few little pieces so I can glue this piece of wafer paper to my styrofoam. And I'm using wafer paper because I'm going to build on my wafer paper when I'm going to attach stamens and petals. And sometimes if you're trying to stick wafer paper to styrofoam or to any other surfaces, it might not be as easy as it looks. So if you're struggling, like for example, if you wanted to apply ruffles or something onto your fondant cake and it doesn't stick, try adding a little piece of wafer paper onto, like flat wafer paper, onto your fondant cake and then build on top of that. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to center my wafer paper onto my styrofoam, and let's start with like applying every other piece flat as possible on both sides. And I have just a touch of wafer paper glue to make it sticky first, and then I can add more glue when I know the shape. So basically I'm shaping onto my wafer paper. I think alternatively, if you wanted to try and make that without a piece of styrofoam, so just build the shape without adding styrofoam, I think it's possible as well. Just wanted to have a better idea how to do this faster, especially if you're making a lot of wedding cakes, so you're making a lot of like more commercial style flowers. Sometimes I'm looking into having any ways to speed up the process and as fast as possible. And styrofoam, I use it for my David Ocean roses, this size styrofoam, and it gives like a beautiful base, and you don't have to worry about your flowers being misshapen or something because you have styrofoam inside. And I understand not everyone wants to use styrofoam. You can use Rice Krispie treats, you can do any other different decorations if you decide to do that. So now I have my center for my protea and I need to start building stamens. So for my stamens, let me grab a ruler. I wanted to see how long my stamens should be. I think they should be at least maybe 2 inches, I would say, so I can start building on 2 inches. And I have two ideas. I can either use just like regular wafer paper, or I can use, this is 0.30 millimeters wafer paper, or I can try using double thickness wafer paper. So for 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches wafer paper, let's do 2.25 inches wafer paper, and we'll see how it goes. So I do need to have a straight line. I cannot see my markings. Oh, it's always like this. So 2.25 here and 2.25 here. And I'm just going to do like this. So this is my test piece. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome from Scotland, Melbourne, Australia, from the Switzerland. Thank you for joining me and have fun for the fun part. So I'm going to start cutting my wafer paper stamens to maybe like almost the thickness of my blades, of my scissor blades. And I'm going to give it like the first try for the first piece of wafer paper. But if I like it, like if I like the stamens and this piece, I can cut up to 3 layers of wafer paper at the same time. And I'm cutting from my rough edge, or like a fluffy edge, because I don't want it to make it like a straight line. I don't want it to make it too obvious that it's made out of paper. I still wanted to give it a little bit of shape. And if you look at if you look at the kin proteas or like any proteas, the stamens are white, like white, completely white. So maybe I can add a touch of yellow or something if I decide to do that, or I can leave it just like this. So for shaping my stamens, I wanted to shape them, I think which side I wanted to go to be my face side. So this is a bumpy side of my wafer paper, this is a smooth side of my wafer paper. I feel like the smooth side should be the face side, like the side that is going to be visible. So I will start with steaming my wafer paper just a little bit to give it more movement and separation, and then we'll see if we can apply it to our center. I just wanted to shape it a little bit because it's too flat to my liking. And you know, we are trying to avoid making things flat and boring and predictable. We still need to give our wafer paper shape, even though it's paper and it's edible. But I still wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So, because my wafer paper is very dry, I'm trying to add decent amount of moisture with just a mini steamer. If you live in a high humidity and your wafer paper is flexible, you don't need to do this step. I just wanted to give it a curl. So you can see, if you watch my tutorials on making wafer paper feathers, that's the same idea, that we are trying to separate all these pieces of wafer paper and make them very flexible. So again, here on this side, and I have no idea how many strips of wafer paper I will need for that. We'll start with one. I have my ball tool. I don't have a larger ball tool, but that's my idea, is to just like rub my ball tool on different parts to give them like a little bit more movement. So you can see they look more fluffy. Just a touch here, and these are going to be my stamens for my protea, and maybe here at the base to make them curl a little bit more. So that's my first layer. I will take a touch of wafer paper glue here at the base to soften my wafer paper and make it very sticky, so I can build my layers onto my wafer paper center. And wafer paper will stick to wafer paper very easily, so I'm not worried about that. So this is my center. I have styrofoam inside, and I build this cone shape out of wafer paper to make it look more like a base for protea flower. Now I will start with building my stamens here. I need them to overlap. Let's see if I can do that upside down, and it's going to look better. Like that. So these are going to be, and I'm not worried much about the shape yet because I have wafer paper glue here at the base, and I can bring them all together after I apply them. So, okay. So this is my first layer for my stamens, and I'm just pinching my wafer paper all together. I think I need at least another layer before I'm going to apply my petals. So if you need to adjust that, you can add a touch more wafer paper glue in between to glue them all together. But I think this type of wafer paper is working to build our center first, like that. Okay, and maybe let's do 2 more of these to serve as a base for our protea flower. So we did 2¼ inches. I think 2 inches would be enough to build it down the side. So I'll do 2 in 2 inches, like that. And again, I'm not trying to make a straight line. I actually looking to make this line a little bit rough and all misshaped. Okay, like that. And maybe I should cut them in 2, just to make it faster to cut them and to attach them. So I have 4 layers of wafer paper here, and now I'm going to cut my centers, on my stamens out of wafer paper, but I will try to make them a little bit smaller, like a little bit thinner, to be able to shape them a little bit better. So that's my idea to make my wafer paper king protea stamens. And then we will need to make petals. I think for petals I would have to use either double thickness or like make double thickness wafer paper, or to use 0.60 millimeters wafer paper, just because protea petals are very thick, similar to magnolia petals, similar to certain types of tulips. They are very, very thick. So again, I'll start with steaming my wafer paper to give it a little bit of shape. We'll see if I even need to steam that. Just wanted to be able to shape it because it's dry. Maybe I should try, let's try applying that the way they are, with just a touch of wafer paper glue. And I'll do two at a time. I'm applying my wafer paper glue onto my shiny, on my rough side of wafer paper, and then I'm gluing my stamens shiny side up like this, pinching them together to bring them closer to the center and building on top of that. So I'm bringing them, every single strip of wafer paper goes a little bit more closer to the base to give me this shape for my protea center. I think I might give it a haircut later on, but that's the idea of making them. And two more. And again, we are just experimenting, doing things that feel good. With wafer paper, fondant, and other decorations, just for fun. There is no right or wrong way of doing things. As long as you are enjoying the process, that counts. So another piece for my king protea center, and I think it looks good. So maybe just a little haircut to bring them all together. Okay, so like that. And I will put it upside down to dry, but this is my king protea center so far. So you can see how full it looks with all the layers of wafer paper that we just attached. So I will set it aside to dry upside down, because I want my petals, like my leaves or my stamens, wherever they are, to be close together. Just a touch more wafer paper glue, because I don't want them separate when I'm going to attach my petals. And I will start working on my petals. So for protea, for the king protea petals, I think they are in they are like 16 petals and then 9 petals. That's my idea so far. So I'm going to make 16 petals in a size maybe at least, I think at least 3 inches. Let's start with 3 inches and we'll see if it's enough or it's not enough for the size. Hello, hello, hello. I'm making wafer paper king proteas and we are having fun here. Let me grab my double thickness wafer paper. It's not double thickness, it's wafer paper cardstock. So it's 0.60 millimeters wafer paper. So wafer paper comes, it used to be 3 different types. I think you still can find, I think it's still possible to find 0.22, but for the most part, most wafer papers are now either 0.30 millimeters or 0.60 millimeters. So I have 0.60. This is, it's also called wafer paper cardstock. And I wanted to see if I can make petals using this type of wafer paper, because for the proteas, I'm not going to shape them much. I wanted to try maybe dry dusting them, or maybe even to use mixture of vodka and petal dust to paint them as an experiment. And then I will build on top of that with different layers. So let's start with maybe 3.5 inches wafer paper. If you don't have a 0.60 millimeters wafer paper, you can use wafer paper conditioner and stick 2 layers of wafer paper all together. Alternatively, we'll see. So I will start with making my petals, maybe this thickness, like this. How many can I do this? Okay, this is going to be our experiment. For protea petals, they are more like a rounded, like it looks like a fencing, like a piece of a fence. So I will start with maybe something like this. Let's do an experiment first with color and shape, and then adjust from there. I have my petal dusts, and I have my brush that I use for my petal dusts. Okay, like this. So I will start with using, maybe this is Aurora Rose, maybe this color, to paint my wafer paper. If it's not enough color, I might add a touch of hot pink just to make it a little bit more visible, or any other like darker petal dusts. I'll take a mixture of hot pink and Sicilia rose. Okay, this one looks better. So now I have a little bit of shadow onto my wafer paper, and I will take a different brush to paint green line onto my leaf petal. I think these are technically petals, but they might not be petals. So I'll start with this shape and this color as an experiment. We'll see. Can I shape it with my steamer? This will allow me to fix the color first, but I'm not sure because this wafer paper is so thick and I wanted to shape it. The other option would be to spray with wafer paper conditioner or apply wafer paper conditioner with a brush. I'm just thinking about all the ways how I can do this faster. This is going to take forever. So where's my Dresden tool? With the Dresden tool, all I need to do is to like shape and make it more sharp. Okay, but I think single thickness wafer paper will work much faster. So I'll do the single thickness just for now, and then we will see. So I'll use this piece as a template for my wafer paper, for cutting my wafer paper, and then cut a lot, like at least I need I think 16 petals first, and I'll do them just all in white first. Okay, for my wafer paper. My wafer paper is very dry. Last time I bought it, I buy my wafer paper off of Amazon, and last time I bought it, it came in so dry. I need to fix it. And so that's what I'm going to cut. 16 petals. I'll start with 8 petals first, because that's how much wafer paper I have, and then I can build on top of that. So let me know if you have any questions about wafer paper, making flowers, petals, and I'll answer them while I'm working on my wafer paper protea, king protea. Okay, so first things first, let's clean our mess. And I will, because I'm using my wafer paper conditioner, instead of using dry color, I'm going to color my conditioner with like a touch of pink to make my leaves, because it's going to make it way faster and easier for me to color my wafer paper. So I have my Wafer Paper conditioner here. And do you have any pink colors? I have my favorite maroon color, so I'll start with that and see if it's enough color for me. I think it's okay. Like this. So that's my Wafer Paper conditioner. I'm going to apply onto shiny side of my petals. I think I'm going to do them on the shiny side, all of them on the shiny side. So I will apply my color here and place it onto my pad to dry. You can see that my wafer paper is curling just because of the moisture, but it's totally fine. It's how it's supposed to be. It's going to flatten itself. Like here you can see how curly they get because my humidity is very low, and the second I add a touch of moisture, wafer paper wants to absorb it all and it's going to flatten, it's going to fix itself. So I will start with a few petals at a time to shape them and to color them. To prevent it from happening, from your wafer paper from curling, you can add a touch of cornstarch and it will make your wafer paper flat again because you will help it to reabsorb all the moisture. So like this, and I'll put it onto my foam pad and use my Dresden tool to pull it towards me to create this shape. So you can see now I have this like a little ridge on my wafer paper like that, and same for these two. And for the first layer I'm planning on making 16, and for like first layer is 8, second layer is 8 more, and then 9 for the third layer, like that. So let's start with the first layer, making 8. I'm applying my color onto my shiny side because I think it's going to look a little bit better in terms of texture. It will look more similar to the actual protea petal with the shiny side up. Same as we did for our stamens with the shiny side up to make it look more smooth and beautiful. Like that. Okay, and a touch of cornstarch here on all of them to prevent it from melting, and then we will be able to assemble them onto our flower. Let's see right here, and all of them. My wafer paper is a little bit too soft because of the wafer paper conditioner, but it will dry on the flower itself. It's not a big deal. And let's see if our center is dry, so I can apply that. I can apply my petals onto my center with my wafer paper glue. So I will start with a touch of wafer paper glue at the base for my first 4 petals, the one that I conditioned the first. I'm not adding any green yet because I wanted to see if I even like this process. So I will start with applying them on the opposite sides first and then fill all the gaps in between. So this is 4 leaves or 4 petals here first. It's already starting to look like protea, whatever it's going to be, and 4 more petals so we can finish our first layer all together. I'm just using my wafer paper glue and placing my petals in between, same length, like that, and all 8 all together. Okay, so making sure that all of them are stuck, And what I wanted to do is I wanted to glue my petals closer to my flower, so I will take a touch more wafer paper glue to stick my petals here. So I needed to cover, or at least to start covering my stems. And you can add wafer paper glue anytime you wanted to. I have a chipmunk running outside of my house. That's funny. I think that the weather is so warm that they are going on an adventure, little chipmunks. I have a window on the side here, so that's what I saw. Okay, so now I'm going to bring them all together as well. And it does starting to look like king protea or something closer to that, like that. So this is our first shape, and I will add another layer of petals. Same template, another 8 petals in a single thickness wafer paper. So far I think I used less than one sheet of wafer paper. I had a few pieces like leftovers and I used one sheet of wafer paper. So for something like a king protea, I think 2 sheets of wafer paper should be plenty. And for petals, I need to make 16 in a size large. And then I would need to make 9 more in a size small. So I will start with folding my wafer paper in thirds, like this, to cut all my petals. So I can cut 3 layers at the same time. Okay, and I will cut all, if I need 8 and 9, 17, whatever, how many I can get out of that. I'll do all of this. So I'm going to set them aside and cut my petals. Do you think that you'll have a template for this? Yes, I will have it. I will make a template for that, but I need to make another run, another practice out of wafer paper and just make a proper template. And I'm going to add that template to my ebook. So this will be posted on my website and the template will be in my ebook. So if you already have this ebook, I will update that. I think that template will be available on my website as well, but I'm doing that for so it's going to be available for free when I make it. We might have another live class for that, like for proper protea, not a test run inside the Wafer Paper Academy, and then we'll see. But I'll make a template and I will post it today or tomorrow with the flower. Yes, I will. That's what I'm planning on doing, is to make a template and make it available. I just don't know how. I didn't know how it's going to go. Yes, if you have my ebook, I'm going to update it and I'll send you an email with all the updates, because I wanted to add gardenia flower to the ebook and make this protea and add this to the ebook. So I do have plans on updating the ebook. If you're going to buy it, all the templates will be available there forever. So I cut my petals. How many do I have? 2, 4, 6, 8. This is going to be my second layer, and then I need to have 9 for the last layer. Okay, I have 10, perfect. 9, so for the second layer, I'll do the same procedure. I'm going to condition my petals on the shiny side and place them on a foam pad. Like this. And for the color, you can use any shade of pink. I use this maroon color because this is the color I use for all my wafer paper flowers that I use on all my cakes. And that's the idea of using the same color or the same material or the same method over and over again. First of all, you're going to get way better in doing things when you're doing the same thing over and over again. I'm way better at working with wafer paper than gum paste because I work with wafer paper way more than I work with gum paste. Same for buttercream. Don't even ask me to pipe anything out of buttercream. I won't be able to do that. And same for your colors. If you wanted to have a very specific style, like very distinct style for your cakes, for your designs, I highly recommend you to choose 2 or 3 different colors and make all your cakes, all your flowers, either in those colors specifically or in combinations of those colors. So I use this maroon. This is the shade I use for all my cakes, for all my flowers. And if you look at any of my cakes that behind me, they are like this is maroon, this is maroon, this is like all of them, this is maroon. So all of them are for those anemones. Like I use the same color over and over again just to make sure that all my flowers look cohesive on my cakes all together. I don't need to worry about that. The second shade I use is ivory, because when I'm going to mix ivory with maroon, it will give me a different shade. So it will give me more like pink, light color, and same for like a few shades of green. And that's what I like about using the same. First of all, I'm just buying the same color over and over again. I have my maroon in airbrush because that's the one that's easier to mix with wafer paper conditioner, and I use it to airbrush my wafer paper. I use it to make my wafer paper petals, mix my conditioner, and even if I'm going to airbrush or color my wafer paper in green or any other colors, I'm still going to add a touch of maroon because the mixture of these colors will make it look way more cohesive. So I'm shaping my petals, 8 for the second layer, and for the third layer I need 9. I think I'm going to apply this 8 first. So I have my 8 petals for the second layer, and then I will attach my third layer like this. If you wanted to add a touch of green, I would suggest you to make your petals first, let them dry a little bit, and then you can add a touch of green to the ends of your wafer paper if you wanted to do that. I'm just experimenting, so I don't want to waste time on coloring. And for this time, I'm going to apply my wafer paper maybe a little bit higher, so it will give me more surface to attach my petals onto my center. And I will start with 4 petals first as well, same as we did for the first layer. And this part is almost dry, so I will start the same way. We'll place my petals a little bit lower, almost touching the base of my flower, and attaching them on both sides. Same, so I'm going to do this symmetrically on both sides, 180 degrees from each other, like this. So this is my second layer, or I'm starting doing my second layer, and then 2 more on these sides, like this, making sure that they are stuck, but I wanted them to start opening up, so I'm not gluing them as high as the first layer. Just wanted my petals to start opening up like this, and I will take 4 more petals. Same, I'm applying my wafer paper glue, maybe almost an inch or about 2 centimeters in, to give me all the movement. And we did 8 for the first layer, and I'm going to do 8 for the second layer as well, like that, to make sure that my wafer paper petals are standing upwards and separating themselves from the first layer. Just a little bit to make it more dimensional. Okay, and all I need to do is to add my last layer. I think, okay, maybe touch more wafer paper glue here to close it up, but not too much. Okay, because I have a styrofoam center inside, I can fix, or like I can move my wafer paper and press it the way I wanted to and shape it the way I wanted to. If I wanted to make it more open, I can leave it to dry upside down like this, or I can put it on the side to make it dry in this shape. That's what I'm trying to achieve, to make it look more realistic, or like how the nature has made this. So this is my second layer, and then I'm going to make my third layer, but I wanted to make my petals a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, because I'm almost at the end of my flower and I just don't have the space to put all these petals closer to the center. So I'm going to cut them a little bit shorter. So this is our large size petals, and I'm going to make them medium size petals or small size petals like this. And I will do my Wafer Paper conditioner as well. Same application of the conditioner. I think that the 9 should be fine at the base and should cover everything. But for the protea, I would make the same width. So I'm not going to make them any thicker, because protea petals are the same size throughout. You can make them a little bit sharper if you wanted to, because there are different types of proteas. There are king proteas, there are queen proteas. Instead of using a ball for the center, you can use something like an egg-shaped styrofoam to give it a different shape, and you can play around with this technique as much as you wanted to, doing different style and different things all together like that. So I have my 9 petals. Where is my 9th petal? It ran away. I wanted to have 9, so this is my 9th petal for my wafer paper proteas. And I will start the same with just applying a touch of cornstarch to prevent it from melting, to fix the color, and to shape it. And I'm using my Dresden tool, the thick end of my Dresden tool, to press firmly on the inner side or on the bumpy side of my wafer paper to shape it into a petal for the base of my protea. And 5 more. Depends on your humidity. You might not be able to condition like 9 petals at a time. Even though my humidity is very low, I work relatively fast. So for me, it's not an issue. I can condition a lot of petals at the same time. But if you find that it's hard for you to do that all together, you can condition like 3, 3, and 3, and that might work even better for you in your environment. If your environment is too humid, it's actually very easy to condition all of them together. They're not going to break, but make sure to apply your cornstarch faster than I do, not to wait for them to absorb the color. So I have 9, and I will start with applying my wafer paper glue almost to half width of my petal to make sure they are very sticky. And I will start with 4 maybe petals first for the base. So now all I need to do is to attach my base petals, and I will strive to attach them in between. But here I'm not going to follow any strict rules on application. My goal here is to cover my base and make sure that all my petals are close together and all my gaps and like all my mishaps are covered in wafer paper. And 5 more. Same, applying my wafer paper glue up to the half of my wafer paper petal on the inner side, and working on fixing, like covering all the stuff I don't like. Give me a second to fix this. So all my petals are touching the base, and I roughly know how, like what a distance, how I should place them in between. because I already placed 2 layers, so I basically know the sizing for my center, like that, and the last one in between the last layer. Press it all together and we have our wafer paper king proteas. If I need to fix it or I need to add wafer paper glue somewhere else, I might do that, but I think it's not bad for the first attempt. So color wise, this camera is making everything very bland, but this is the shape for my king proteas. And if I need to put it upside down to dry, I might give it a different shape, but this is just the first attempt to make it on a styrofoam center with just using wafer paper. Alternatively, if you wanted to color the ridges or these parts on your flower with green petal dust, you can do that like I have right here. But then for that, you would have to wait for your wafer paper to dry when you apply wafer paper conditioner first. Leave it to dry for maybe like 10-15 minutes. Depends on your humidity. And then add a touch of green. You can actually, I would probably do is to mix petal dust with vodka and paint. And you can do that either while you're making it or after it's dry. It's not a big deal when you're using vodka on wafer paper for accents. I never use vodka to condition wafer paper because it makes it very brittle. But sometimes if I wanted to paint like peony accents or something, I might mix a touch of petal dust with vodka or high-proof alcohol to do that on wafer paper. So let me know, what do you think? It does look like King Protea, and it took us less than an hour to make that for the first time. So every second flower, third flower, fifth flower will be even faster and even easier. But this is an idea how to make wafer paper king proteas using just the ingredients, materials, and tool that you have on hand. I'm going to make a template and I will add it to my ebook, and for you if you wanted to purchase that, and I will put it on my website as well. And let me know if you have any questions. I think I'm relatively happy with my protea, especially making that for the first time. So if you're watching this live, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, ask them right now. If not, I'll see you next Friday. Or if you wanted to have a longer conversation or like deeper conversation about cake styles, cake designs, and everything, consider joining our Wafer Paper Academy. That's the place where we have all the fun conversations and suggestions like this for making wafer paper flowers. And I think I'm happy. I'm relatively happy with the results I achieved on the first try. So I might need to try it again to make a template how to do that, like in terms of paper shapes and petal shapes. But basically that's how I make my wafer paper flowers. Every single template, every single flower you can find either on my YouTube or on my website. Every single flower was developed by me the same way. That's how I do things. I just practice, I just play around, and I look at a lot of different pictures of different flowers and then put them together. Thank you so much. Tamar says, that's beautiful. Which other flowers would you add to accomplish this, to accompany this one on a cake? So for something like King Protea, something like this, I would consider that as a signature flower. So I don't want to add any flowers in terms of flowers that might compete in color, compete in shape, compete in size. So most likely I would do like similar. You can see I have Davidson rose, a few butterfly ranunculuses, and sweet pea. So for something like this, I would maybe do a lot of eucalyptus or something like to give it a texture. I have eucalyptus on this cake, so this is eucalyptus. So I would do something like eucalyptus and something that's completely different in shape And dimensions. Let's see, I have my book here. What would I use for that? You know what would I use for something like this? I would use orchids. So I would make orchids and eucalyptus and put it all together on a cake with orchids and eucalyptus, because orchids, they are very flat, and you can make orchids in white color and they will give you different dimensions in terms of thickness. So they are opposite, they're not as huge and bold as king proteas. So orchids and eucalyptus, and to put it all together to make it look, and orchids, same as proteas, they are more exotic flowers, so I don't feel like it would be right to mix it with something like carnations or dahlias, something you need to offset, you need to keep it as your signature flower. So I would do something like similar in terms of style, similar to one signature flower, a few, maybe a dozen of secondary flowers such as white orchids, and then something for texture like eucalyptus. So that would be my idea for doing this design on a cake. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to purchase, decide on an ebook. I'm going to add my template for this flower here as well and put it on my website, and I'll see you next Friday. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.